Their belief is that they're going to be able to get close to civilization when they are still several miles away and they're just left in a vast desert.
These people are so desperate that they'll do anything to come across. They'll do anything to feed their families.
Since 2001, we've recovered about 2,700, 2,800 remains.
I mean, it's nothing new. It's been going on for years.
Currently, we have like 2,542 missing persons reports.
Clearly, we cover the entirety of Pima County. We're also the medical examiner for Santa Cruz County, which is Nogales, and Cochise County. The migrant death issues that we've had here in southern Arizona have been going on for longer than I've been here. Really pretty much started for us in 2000, so it's been 18, 19 years now. And migration was essentially pushed from more populated areas from San Diego and El Paso into more remote areas like southern Arizona, just basically in response to Border Patrol initiatives to try to decrease crossings. With people coming here in southern Arizona, it has resulted in people dying in the desert. We examine those remains here in an attempt to determine the cause and manner of death and to determine who the person is so that we can return the remains to family members. The Border Patrol, as I mentioned, finds about 50% of the remains. The rest of the remains are found by basically everyone else. So it could be hikers or hunters or ATVers or people on recreation, humanitarian groups, whoever might be out there.
We take water and food and first aid into the desert, and we give it to people who need it and leave it for people who might be traveling these trails. Being in the desert and being dehydrated and being exhausted and so forth is a horrible way to die. And that's good for us to remember, because often we don't see a lot of that. The people we're helping, we can help them before they get to that point, or we can take them to the hospital or something. But we have to keep that in mind, that's what's waiting for them out there if somebody doesn't step in and play a role in it.
Colibri is a non-profit organization, and we work to help the PCOME to identify people who die and crossing the border. Every week there is a meeting when they present the new cases, and the consulates come, Border Patrol come, and we all review the cases, see if there's any way that we can try to identify that person, or if it matches some of the descriptions that we have. If it has no distinctive characteristics and there is no property that could be identified, could be sent like in 7-8 months. So depends, because it's too many.
We will remove this decedent from the medical examiner's office, and at times it could be a whole body or it could be skeletal remains. We take them into our care. They come in sealed bags with a printout of everything that this decedent crossed the border with, from their shoes to their underwear to literally sometimes just a toothpick. I have found that they will typically have several phone chargers, cell phones, miscellaneous papers that will have numerous telephone numbers. Not unusual to have prayer cards with them or some religious token.
In about 2005, we reached a point where we were essentially out of room because the biggest issue with these types of deaths is that they all come in unidentified. And when you have an unidentified person, it takes time to examine those remains and come to a determination that you either are or are not going to be able to identify them. And that slows down in your storage process. And so we ran out of room in 2005 and built an outdoor or an external cooler to the facility. Ran out of room in that in about 2010 and started using a refrigerated truck.
If they're unidentified, just to simplify the process, we would do the cremation here. We put them in the county cemetery here until the medical examiners is able to identify them. It is what it is. I mean, in order to be able to take care of all of it, I mean, it's just what has to be done. But that's why the ones that are identified are embalmed and flown back to Mexico so that they can have their mass and their rosaries and stuff back in Mexico that, you know, that they typically would do as a Catholic service. But I mean, when they're unidentified, you don't know what to do.
Ahí una de las cosas que yo encontré fue que la gente en México no quería que cuando el gobierno les ofrecía la posibilidad de que les trajeran, exhumaran los cadáveres, cremaran los cadáveres y se los enviaran en una urna, ellos no estaban de acuerdo, porque ellos decían, nosotros queremos el cuerpo completo. En nuestra cultura, en México, hay todo una parte cultural que tiene mucho que ver con el respeto a los muertos o con un proceso en el cual ellos quieren enterrar a los muertos, ¿no? Y ir a velarlos y hacer todo este proceso de duelo y cada año ir a verlos al panteón. Entonces no aceptaban que, aunque era más barato que los mandaran cremados, ellos querían que fuera de cuerpo completo y eso alzaba los costos.
It's not our decision, but yes, I'm sure some people would prefer that not to occur. But it costs about $3,500 to bury someone, and to exhume their remains costs about the same. To cremate someone costs about $500, and it costs about $75 to exhume cremains from an above-ground columbarium. So it's just a matter of function, and of course you don't know if you're ever going to identify an unidentified person, so you don't know what the issues will be in the future.
We've got to get back to a plan that is humanitarian, is sustainable, and makes sense economically, and that we can do it legally, that we can, one way to put it is we've got to get the innocent people out of the desert. The people that are just coming across for jobs to make enough money so their families can live.